on Belleville. I'm in my home office right now where I do like the behind the scenes stuff, but that's what all I do here.
Very cool. Very
Yeah.
cool. I like the color green behind you. We actually have a very similar color to that in our kitchen and living room. Love that shade of green. Yeah.
It's a good green. It's a good like energy life. That's why I painted the office that color. Keeps me
It
going.
is, eh?
So you
Good
guys
for you. Good
are,
for
I've been
you.
following you a little bit on Instagram and stuff lately. And I see you guys are doing quite a lot of stuff. And it's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Yeah. It's really exciting actually for us. Like it's I'm just kind of seeing the need for human connection and sharing ideas and communicating with one another and having open conversations about how we can support one another and sharing each other's stories and whatnot, which is really kind of what inspired me to do these meetings
Nice.
and kind of meet people that maybe I've never spoken to before or had a connection with and it's led to some really interesting conversations and some interesting, business ideas as a result. So I'm super excited about it. Our team's excited, and we're just collaboration and seeing opportunities in the marketplace and as business professionals, and just seeing how we can support one another, which is really the goal here. So
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. That's awesome because it's so true. It's just kind of when you're not able to go to all those typical meetings and things that you would do on your regular routine, you miss that connection with not only business owners, but just kind of everybody in your everyday realm, like our patients, our customers, right? You miss all that interaction and it's needed.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I'm Dana Goodfellow. I own Quinty Mind and Body, which is a health clinic downtown on Pinnacle Street in Belleville. We will be working on 5 years open this July. And we are,
Congrats.
thanks. We're mostly manual therapy, but it's also, I named it Quinty Mind and Body because um, I've been about 12 years as a massage therapist and acupuncturist now. And when you're fresh out of school and you get into those jobs, you're very manual, physical pain based with all of your treatments. And I quickly realized there's such a mental component to pain as well. And if we don't acknowledge or treat that mental component, sometimes there's roadblocks when how we can get there with our physical pain with as far as treatment goes. So I opened up Quinty Mind and Body, and we also have psychotherapy as part of treatment as well. Of course, not every patient needs it, not every patient uses it, but it's there for those patients that have been through trauma, and that's why they're here. They've been through a car accident, or they have chronic pain, and there's always that mental component to their pain. So we can work with them physically, but we can also work with them on that mental component as well. And sometimes it's just stress, maybe just a high stressful job they work in, and that creates that pain that they're continuing to have. So it always is a barrier to us getting there physically as recoverment. So that's why we kind of encompass that. There's lots of other different things within the clinic that we just look at the body as a whole when we treat it. We do lots of acupuncture, manual therapy, mobility stuff. And then with the mental component, we do yoga, we teach meditation, and we have the psychotherapy there as well. So that's kind of in a long nutshell, that's what we do in the clinic. And yeah, it's been a lot of fun. We're reaching 5 years this summer.
5 years. Wow. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks.
What's the actual date?
July 2nd will be 5 years.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So
Wow.
hopefully we can be open and like do something fun, but
Yeah, hopefully everybody's allowed outside and can interact with one another again.
yeah, absolutely.
Very cool, very cool. So wow, so okay, so 5 years ago you started this thing, and like I'm curious, like what was like some of the like maybe like your top three motivations behind starting this? Like obviously like this is your brainchild and
Right.
this is your baby. So like what were kind of like the top three things that you would say that really motivated you to step towards starting this business, entrepreneurship? the solution that you provide?
I think number one would always be I have that entrepreneurial spirit naturally in me. I think I've always known that I would eventually own my own business, whatever that was. Since I was a child, I'm kind of a workhorse, and I love working, and I love the business aspect of it just as much as I love the actual therapy based day to day with my patients all day. So it's very I think that was kind of an inevitable thing that was going to happen. I was growing up, both of my parents always had like multiple jobs and multiple kind of entrepreneurial avenues that they would take. And I was always delved into those businesses with them. And I just grew up in that world. So I think naturally it comes to me that that's how life is. And you kind of make your own path and you create your own way. And um, there's definitely risks obviously involved with it when you do your own thing, but I think it's also for me it's almost more comfort to have management and control over my career and my future than somebody telling me when you're going to work, how you're going to make it, how much you're going to make, and this is what you're kind of this is it for you, right? And so that's I think my natural inclination to kind of go in that way of owning my own business. As far as getting into the field and then seeing if I really wanted to open my business or not, um, I just kind of was part of there's really in industries, I'm sure you can relate to this too, with industries that there's kind of this way that they just continually to go, right? And sometimes it doesn't always make sense. And sometimes it's not like you need to break the mold a little bit, right? And I think that was I saw different ways to break the mold as far as the business aspect goes, but as far as also treatment goes as well. Like I said, like taking in that mental component now when we're treating and making sure that patient is treating that way, but then also the background scenes of how the business in general has been looked at for many years and kind of navigated um, didn't really fit with how I wanted to be in the industry.
Right, right. Wow,
Mm-hmm.
that's very, very cool and neat to hear. Like, and I mean, it sounds like it's in your DNA, obviously, from your response, like just always having that entrepreneurial spirit. And I find it quite interesting that you use the words like taking comfort of like having to own it, like
Mm-hmm.
basically being completely 100% responsible for your situation, like how much you're going to make, like what are you going to do, like what's your ceiling, like
Yeah.
talk about that, because like I totally agree with that, and I'm very similar in the fact of finding comfort in that. But like I think a lot of people find that scary, like what you
Oh
find
yeah.
comfort in, I think a lot of
I do.
people are scared of. So like I don't know, like kind of break that down a little bit for me. I think it's a neat place to go.
Yeah, and I think it's just your mindset around it, right? And it's your comfort. And I'm sure many people find comfort in being employed and having that like, I'm going to have this avenue in life. Whereas if we look at it differently, um, to have you're creating your own. If I fail, it's on me, right? If I don't reach that goal, it's on me, and I can kind of accept that probably more than if it was somebody or something or some issue that I can't help blocking me from going down that path. And I mean, obviously, things pop up like this quarantine that we're in now that none of us could see coming. And it's kind of a roadblock for sure. But um, it's up to also myself how I can navigate through this, right? And there are things we have to be closed right now. There's nothing I can do about that, but it's also there's silver linings and everything, and you can definitely get through it. But yeah, I think it's just a mindset to have your your management of your own future that way. And like I said, if I fail, it's on me. And also, it creates this as you go through, you're able to kind of work with the team that I have in my clinic. And, it's also showing them that's your career as well, right? So we take on different therapists in our clinic, and it's what type of therapist do you want to be? right? Where do you want to see your career going? And you can work with people in that way too, and kind of open their mind up to, you can have this as well. Like, you can have this way of going through life. You're not just employed here and this is what you do day in and day out. You have this avenue you can take as well. And I think that's cool too, that you can kind of open it up to other people as well as yourself, and kind of teach them that way if they're not already thinking that way. And yeah, it's fun. I think you're in your own boat, and you can kind of navigate as you want to.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think it's super interesting. Like you just touched on something that I'm a strong believer in, which is, the way that it looked like in the past, things that were attractive to like an employee are not as attractive now. Like I think, employees want a lot more flexibility. I think they want to kind of have uh, some of the, freedoms that you get when it is kind of your own thing, but under an umbrella.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think time is the new currency. Flexibility is the new currency in a lot of ways for people that are employees and in working situations. So I don't know, do you have any like examples of how you've kind of helped to facilitate that? Because I picked up on that when you mentioned about like people like working in your clinic, and it sounds like you really have like you really understand like just that kind of move shift in the marketplace and how employers and employee relationships work.
Yeah, and I think I'm also in an industry where most of us in this industry are self-employed. Even though you are maybe with a clinic or working with other doctors or something, you're still looked at by the government as self-employed. And I think a lot of people get into the industry and they never wanted or expected to be self-employed, and then they're thrown into this position. So there's different ways, and some of them say, I don't want this at all, and then some are just trying to navigate and they don't really know how to go through it. So specifically in my clinic, like we sit down, like I ask them, like, what type of therapist do you want to be? What do you enjoy doing? Where do you want to focus? What type of patients do you want to work with? But then as far as that goes, it's also your schedule. What maybe they have kids at home and they have to be home by this time. And then we'll work with that as far as we can do with the and then be there for their patients as well, right? So it's finding that balance that they can get, as far as, and then it's also, it's time off, and how we're dealing with that. And like, I remember I had one RMT come to me and I was kind of interviewing her, and she kind of said, well, what if I want to take holidays? I said, great. Like, what's your question about it, right? And she kind of, what do you mean? Like, what? I'm like, you want to go on a trip? Go on a trip, right? This is why we work. You got to enjoy life. And she was taken back by that, because where she comes from, it only sets her amount so many times, and you can only take it when you can to work with, and we understand, like, there are parameters and set like that for a reason, but at the same time, you can't, I would never, somebody's came to me and said, like, I want to go on a holiday here. I'm like, awesome, cool, have fun, show me pictures when you get back, and, cool.
That's
So
awesome.
it's just giving them, I guess you're right. Like, people look at employment differently and they value different things. And I don't have a set out, um, framework that every person that comes on board with us or joins our team goes by. It's just, what do you want out of your career? And let's work with that. And let's make it work for both the clinic and you.
Right, right. Yeah, having that conversation. No, I totally agree with that, and that's that's something that I strive for in our business, is to always have those one-on-one conversations to kind of see where people are at, what their expectations are, and then how can we work together as a team to help them meet their goals. So yeah, that's really cool that you do that.
Yeah, it's cool. And it's something you navigate too, right? I mean, as a business owner, I'm not perfect. And you try and, create what you think and hope everybody is happy with. And all that is just keep communicating with your team, and make sure that, they'll let you know, or you'll see something if you're, not navigating it properly. And then you can just kind of pivot it and fix it and go from there.
Absolutely, absolutely. You use the word pivot, so I'm going to pivot to the next part of our conversation where I talk a little, get you to talk a little bit about, what are some ways that you've had to adapt during this time of isolation and social distancing and whatnot, and more importantly, what are some things that you've learned from this experience so far, and that you'd like to share that maybe might help some other people that would be watching?
Yeah. Well, our hands are tied as far as our industry, right? We were mandated to shut down, one of the first people to shut down, obviously for good reasons. We are hands-on with people. That's we can control our environment within our clinic, but with person-to-person contact, that's inevitable. So, our hands are tied as far as what we can do. But it's kind of gotten us a little bit creative. Okay, how can we still be there for our patients? We know our patients still need us. In their mind, we're still essential to their health journey, whatever they're on. And it's you try and be there. So we've created some online virtual, check-ins with our patients, and just doing that complimentary for all of our patients through this, and being there for as much as they want us to be there for us, help them out with home care and help them out with giving them stretches, giving them mobility stuff, giving them exercises or self-care they can do to help their issues and conditions and pain while they're at home. Where typically, they'd be in our clinic and getting that treatment. There's a lot of patients right now that I really feel for. One example is our pregnancy patients. We are an essential part of their pregnancy plan as they're going through this, and now their whole plan is just upside down, and they're reaching out, and we're doing what we can and trying to be there for them virtually. And it's really, at first I was like, man, this is, you can't, this seems so minimal for what we can do. But yet when we're connecting with them and we're jumping online and we're seeing our patients, they're still really thankful and they're really happy to still connect with you. And it's almost like a comfort for them to also just talk to you and say, okay, maybe this isn't as bad as I thought it was with X, Y, and Z that you just gave me. I can get through this, right? So
Wow.
it's nice to kind of connect that way. So that's one thing we've been doing, is just kind of trying to get that online. Of course, being a little bit more active on social media, putting a little bit more content out there, doing what we can just to keep connected with our patients, and know that, like, I think the main thing is just to make them understand and make them realize we're still here for you. Yes, you can't walk through our doors, but we're going to do that. We're going to be here for you in any way that we can.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's
that's one
awesome.
way we can.
What's that?
It's one way we can be there for them, and that we do have products and stuff that we're able to kind of contactless get to people and whatnot. But the main thing is just the online assessments and, yeah, reaching out to people.
Well, I want to just encourage you in that, and just say that's the number one strategy for any business right now that is had to minimize what they are able to do, how they operate in their business currently. That is the number one strategy, is to just reach out to your clients and ask how they're doing, and kind of just be there to talk them through things. I think that's brilliant. I think it's human. I think that those are the type of things that are remembered long after the fact. I think
Right.
those are the type of things that build brand and really give you credibility with the people that you provide care to, and then it then turns into their children and their children's children, and so
Right.
on. So I think that's brilliant, and I want to commend you for that, and encourage you to keep doing it, because I think it's the strategy.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It is, and it's nice. And I was even once a week, I pop into the clinic. I was just there this morning, and I'm calling because we do book out 2-3 months in advance sometimes. So we're still dealing with rebookings and getting people, rescheduled to who knows when. But I was in there this morning, and it's just calling people is so nice too, to hear them on the other end. And then it turns into just a genuine conversation of how they're doing and how their family is. And And, because often we know quite a bit about their home life, and we know quite a bit about, their kids, or maybe we're treating their family as well. And it's nice just to check in and have that, like you said, that human connection and that interaction, just to pop in and say hi, even if it is for 2 minutes. It's nice. And I think that connection is more valuable than we think.
100%. I couldn't agree more. Yeah, it's tenfold, and it's interesting too because like that's what I've been noticing is like the key common denominator across the board, like in what people are, it's human connection.
Right.
Because like everybody's stuck at home, it's like, and that seems to be like a common thing. So yeah, kudos to you. I think that's very honorable
Thank you.
and very good for any business. I think, and Quinny should take note of that as the
Thanks.
bar.
Thanks. Yeah. And then as
Yeah,
far as like the outlook that we have on this time and how we've been pivoting that way is, we can't, like I said, our hands are kind of tied with as far as we can give to our patients and what we do as business day to day. But we've taken this time to really step back and, okay, what is something that we've been wanting to work on ourselves, or what is something that we wanted to work on the business, or implement into the business, or something I've wanted to add for a long time. And the first week, I think I was off. I was just lists and lists and lists, right? And just kind of accumulate them and write everything down, and then go through that and really took a look at what I can do right now with my resources right now. And one thing is my knowledge, right? With health industry, research is constantly developing, and treatments are changing, and it's to keep up with that is a whole aspect of our profession. So it's so nice to have this time also to do courses that I've had my eye on for a long time, but haven't had the time, because you have to take time in your clinic to kind of do those courses, or sometimes they're really more intense, and you just don't have that time throughout your week to commit to that. So it's been so nice to do courses and workshops and add to your knowledge, that when I can get back and open up my doors again, there's this whole new thing or knowledge base or modality that I can now bring to my patients too, which adds value to when I get to open my doors again.
That's awesome. Wow. Yeah. Education. That's super huge, eh?
Mhm.
Like the time that we didn't have before to kind of spend on upping our game in our field and just having more overall knowledge of and I'm sure it's the same with you as it is with us. Like it's ever evolving. There's always new
Yeah.
things coming down the pipe that it's good to have knowledge about. So it's great that you're having some time to do that as well.
Yeah, it's important to kind of take a look at that, because how often, like I don't know, I often thought to myself, man, it'd be so nice just to take a week to do nothing and like do all this stuff we want to do. And now it's given to us, whether we want it or not, it's here. And why not you look at it that way, and really take a look at what we want to do professionally, personally, all that stuff. And I know a lot of people are diving into stuff that they wanted to get done, and it's a nice way to use this, because I know as business owners, we crave productivity, we crave just being accomplished, I think. And when that's taken away from us as we know it, then it's okay, what can I do now, right? Like, how can I still.
Yeah.
And it's funny because it was almost like a really anxious feeling in me, I think, for the first few weeks of, I'm not getting up, I'm not going to my clinic, I'm not doing my everyday to day routine. And that's all life as I know it, right? And it's kind of being able to do these courses and do these different things for myself has been a way to kind of manage that and continue to grow and be still feel accomplished and still feel productive.
Right, right. So you found that was kind of like a 2 week process where you had to kind of work through that and get to a point of like, okay, here's what I have to do next.
I think it was immediate, like the day I woke up, where the first day I was not going to the clinic, I sat down and started making those lists. So it was immediate. I knew what I had to do. I'm going on, I think, my 6th week now closed. And I think I'm just getting to the point that I can say, it's okay to do nothing for a day, right? Which is crazy because it should be okay. But you're just getting to that point where if I just want to lay on the couch and watch Netflix, it's okay. And nothing's going to drastically happen, right? It's going to be okay if you have a day like that. But I think it's just not in me to do that. I think I always have to feel productive in some way. So every day I am doing something. And that's okay. I think I don't know if that's healthy or not, but it's what I'm doing and it's getting me through it. And I'm feeling good about it. It's okay to do that.
Wow, I just think what you just shared there was super powerful because I think everybody's journey with that is different, and I think just to hear your words are along the lines of you're having fun with it, you're feeling good about it, and still in real time going through the journey. I just think that's super helpful to anybody listening because it's very real for a lot of us, and just I'm encouraged by your words on that, and think it's super helpful. So
Awesome. Thank you. It is.
yeah.
It's just like there's nothing, it's a whole lot of things we can't control right now. And as business owners, that's what we do, right? Is we have all of these steps that we normally take. We have goals, we have daily routines that we do, and that's all thrown out the window right now. So whatever you can still do, obviously still do, but it's important just to kind of step back and allow yourself to enjoy this time and see it for what it is. And it's something we're also kind of blessed with in a way.
Mm, I totally agree. I totally agree. Super interested to ask you this. Like, has taking a step back and kind of looking at your business and looking at, your brand and everything, like, has there been anything that you've kind of looked at and said, I think like when we come out of this, this is something I'm going to do differently, or I'm going to change this aspect of my business, or like, has there been any of those moments for you?
For sure. I think those moments happen all the time, right? When as business owners, we're constantly assessing our business and we see the downfalls, I say, or the pits of the business where most people probably wouldn't see that, but we would pick that apart a little bit. Um, and I think, yeah, there's definitely spots that I've been, hey, let's, take a day and just look at this and how could I change that if I do want to change it and what does that look like? Um, everything from reorganizing an area of the clinic or redecorating an area of the clinic right down to the system that we use for bookings and things like that. Can that be improved at all? So yeah, there's definitely things that you kind of take back and look at and reassess. And I think we're also going to things that we develop right now. I think I'm always going to continue to implement this going forward is like maybe have a week where I just sit at home and work on the business instead of in the business. And that might be more valuable. We might see that coming out of this, that's something we always have to continue to do. And yeah, I think there's definitely, I mean, we're always assessing our business, right? And as a business owner, it's you're constantly assessing those little things that can improve. Um, but then I think it's also I'm cautiously approaching them because we don't know how long this is going to last. We don't know when we can reopen, what it's going to look like when we reopen. And with this whole year, we know as 2020 is going to look completely different for business, and so you have to approach those things cautiously and really look at, is this worth doing? Does this make sense to do right now? Maybe I'll do the back work on it right now. And if it makes sense to implement it, we can down the road. So yeah, all different avenues I'm looking at there for sure.
You just said something that made me super happy. Like you were talking about like just taking it like a day out of the week to just do absolutely nothing except for work on the business. I'm so happy that you said that. That is like also a realization that I've had like at the start of this thing. It's funny, I was having a conversation with my mother-in-law, and she takes a week a month where all of her managers, they know not to bother her with anything unless it's like completely urgent.
Right.
And she takes that whole week as a reflection week. And you hear things about, like, like the Bill Gates of the world taking a month out of the year to just reflect, and some of their best ideas coming out of those times of reflection. And that was like a big eye opener for me, thinking like, yeah, because like, and I've always like, they talk about like the three eyes of entrepreneurship, right? Like, like the third eye, or the first eye is the eye of the technician, the second is the eye of the manager, and then the third is the eye of the entrepreneurship and entrepreneur, and then the third eye is when you're spending all of your time working on the business. And that's something I truly like appreciate and want to make more time for. So that's definitely, I resonated quite a bit with what you said there, because that's a realization that I've had, like taking more time out of it. So for me, it's Mondays. So that was yesterday for me.
Nice, nice. And that's so good. I'm glad to hear that you can do that, because it's something I've always like, okay, this month I'm going to take a Monday, just like you said, a Monday, I'm going to take it off. I'm going to book it out of the clinic, and that's going to be that day. And it never happens because you get so busy in the clinic, and I just book patients into it because we need that time. So it's like this justification in your head that you just kind of outweigh it. But this has proven to me that it's by far important to make that time and do it. And I remember maybe about a year and a half ago or so, I went to one of my mentors, one of my business mentors, and I was having one of those, like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't like this with the business. I don't, I just had one of those, like, you were questioning everything. It was one of those, like, did I even make the right decision in the first place? Like, what am I doing right now? And he just looked at me and he said, Dana, like, when's the last time you had a vacation? And I said, well,
Mm,
we do. My husband and I are avid travelers, so I do make time to do vacations and travel. So I said, oh,
nice.
kind of whatever time ago, and he's like, no, 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 not travel. When's the last time you had a vacation where you just stayed home and did nothing for a week? And I looked at him and I said, never. Like, why would I do that? you know? And he just kind of said, this is what you need. This is why you're in the state you are. This is why you're overwhelmed. And this is why you don't take time to just be down. And so then this is kind of, I'm going to be honest, I was guilty and I never really did take that week to do nothing. But yeah, so I tried to implement it. So this is definitely, I think, also a way of just showing me that this is what you need to. You need to create this space in your life ongoing.
I appreciate that honesty, and I think we're all guilty of that to
Yeah.
a degree. Knowing that maybe this is something that we should implement for ourselves, but just getting caught up and not really taking advantage of it. It's interesting, like you talk about having a mentor, and like I've had like a successful business person tell me that they're like, when you're on vacation, book your next vacation.
Yeah.
Like
True.
book it while you're on it, because he's like, you get caught up, and then next thing you know, that next vacation hasn't been scheduled. So yeah, I totally agree with that. And I think we are so, like, I think the default for a lot of entrepreneurs is like, we are kind of like the thing that keeps the wheel turning.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I talk about this sometimes, but not quite often, but I just feel like it's so relevant to this conversation, which is like my desire to kind of work to a point where I'm pretty much 90% of the time is spent working on the business and not in it. I just really, really enjoy that aspect of it quite a bit, and I'd love to kind of turn it into multiple different things. But yeah, it's super encouraging, and to hear what you said kind of again resonates and affirms that for me as well, because I think that time is certainly important for sure.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. That's great for you. I think that's what all business owners aspire, is to take that time to spend on the business and not in it the day-to-day hamster wheel stuff, right? And that's good for you for being able to 90%. That's huge.
I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet, but I'm working towards that. It's funny, like you talk about having like 5, 10 year plans, and like then like COVID-19 happens, and it's like like what happened to your 5, 10 year plan? But I just I like I do like to plan things. I do like to set goals and meet them. But at the same time, like just being open to flexibility. But yeah, that's definitely like down the road, like not too far from now, but where I'd like to get to 90% of my time. But I'm actively making decisions in the present to work towards that.
Good
So
for you. That's
that's how,
awesome.
that's how I measure it.
Good.
Yeah. So okay. So another question for you. So like with this transition, like what would you say to somebody um, that is like they have a similar business to you? They're in a similar spot as far as like what they're not able to do because of the government and whatnot right now. Like, what would you say to that person? They're kind of like just not, they're going through their journey, trying to figure out, what are some things that I could do? What are some ways that I could still grow my brand and my business during this time? What are some suggestions you would give to them?
I would say, put your energy where you're still going to be in front of your audience because our industry is so different, right? And I know there's a lot of great ones out there because we all follow each other on Instagram and we know a lot of each other. And I think everyone's doing a great job of it. And it almost like keeps me motivated too, right? Because you see how great of a job they're doing and you're like, yeah, like I need to get on this a little bit more, or vice versa. I know I inspired some other people too. So it's fun to watch that, but it's, yeah, just put your energy into what's going to help you get through this, what's going to put you still in front of your audience and or connect, I guess, with your customer or your patient, um, and work on yourself as a professional, I think, because
Mm,
in specifically with our industry, like professionals, we often don't always have that time to do that. And that's something that's so, I think, pivotal. And I think a lot of patient or professionals in my industry, we can get a comfort zone, right? And you can just do your day to day and everything works well. But you need to challenge yourself and you need to continue to grow as a professional because there's so much going on in the world of health today that you need to keep up with it. And if you're not keeping up with it, you will be eventually looked at as, you know, someone that isn't an avenue where people want to go, right? So that's my advice is just really keep up with your professional growth as much as you can because that's one thing that we can control right now. And there's so much out there. There's so much at our fingertips right now as far as um, knowledge-based stuff, courses, webinars, online stuff you can do right now. There's so much out there, and a lot of it's being offered for free or very low cost because of what's going on. So it's like, why couldn't you not right now? Which is awesome.
I have a strategy for you. I'm going to send you this clip of you just giving a whole lot of positive encouragement to people in your industry. I think if you posted it and tagged 3 of your favorite like-minded businesses in the Quinny area, that would turn into something spectacular for um, overall in the long run. Just
Okay,
gonna
cool.
just gonna leave that there for you.
Cool.
Um,
Awesome.
and listen, like I honestly like I love the idea of the true entrepreneur spirit that you mentioned earlier, and I think that spirit like allows one to dream. It gives you the license to dream, to pursue, and to make things happen. And I would love just for a moment to kind of go there with you and just talk about, like, what is your dream? Like, if you looked into the future, I don't know, say like 5 years from now, what does that look like for you? What does your dream look like for you and your business? It could be your personal life, like whatever that looks like. I want to hear
Oh man. I don't know if I've ever shared this with anybody, right? You always make these little goals and then it's like you just kind of quietly like work away on it. I think as far as business goes, in 5 years we'll be 10 years open. And I hope to be so much bigger than what we are, to be honest. And it's not for, the volume growth. It's more for allowing a great space and really bringing these professions together that's helping patients in such a cool way and such a different way. I want to grow on our mental health component of the business. And whether that means, just a larger, busier clinic. And I don't necessarily want to say busy, but just being able to help more patients, even more patients than we can right now. And, maybe working on different avenues that we can get into different community stuff and help out, because there's so many aspects of our community that can really benefit from what we offer. And I know that we're just kind of like chipping away at the surface right now for this community and what mental health can do for people. And I know that a lot of people have that stigma still related to it. So when they hear psychology, psychotherapy, mental health, it's still this, I don't have that, right? But if you have stress, you have a mental health component you need to work on, right? And that everybody across the board has some form of mental growth that they can work on themselves. 100%. So, and that's what we want to just kind of bring out to the community is like, teachers suffer from it. The government workers suffer from it right now. There's every kind of, we'll say all the frontline workers right now, right? Who would not need this type of therapy for themselves. Which I will say that it's still good that mental health has stayed essential. So our psychotherapist is still able to do virtual sessions with people, which is fantastic. And I'm happy that she's still able to do that. But yeah, I think I just want to grow that component even more, as well as obviously the physical component to our treatments, and just really, really collaborate and create some collaboration that we can bring to the community in a bigger way, whether that means another clinic, whether that means a bigger clinic, whether that just means more professionals within the space we have. I don't know what that looks like, but that's my goal at the end of this, is just to continue to support our community in more ways than we can right now.
That's incredible. Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's beautiful. Beautiful. I can see your heart and just where you're coming from, and great things I think are around the corner for you. I know they're around the corner for you, and I just want to encourage you and just let you know that you're great. My hats are off to you and your business and what you're doing, and wonderful things are around the corner for you and your family. I believe that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That's very nice.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Well, Dana, I really, really appreciate being able to speak with you today. I feel like we went in depth. I got to hear and see and hear from you, and just kind of see your heart a little bit, and kind of get a little poke into Dana world, and see what she's all about. So I really appreciate being able to speak with you today and hear from you, and maybe let anybody that's going to be listening to this know where to find you, and then how to get in contact with you.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for having me on this. This was amazing. I love connecting and talking about this stuff that we're going through right now. And I'm sure many people will listen and resonate with something you said or I said, and it's really going to help them either get through this or inspire them maybe to do something during this time too. So again, I'm Dana Goodfellow from Quinty Mind and Body. If you want to reach out to us, email is at quintymindandbody.ca. Our Instagram handle is at quintymindandbody. Facebook is quintymindandbody. Pretty simple.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Dana. Appreciate you.
So